Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, automobile and automotive art enthusiasts from all around the planet Earth, we are back once again with another...
Kevin, we're back with a beneficent episode of V8 Radio.
Beneficent?
That's right.
Wasn't that a character in a Disney movie that was like really bad?
That was Maleficent. This is beneficent.
How do you spell that?
That would be Beneficent.
Nice.
Meaning generous or doing good.
Oh, right on.
Much like we do at the show.
Yeah, well, there you go. Well, I'm your host, Kevin Ostie, joined as always by our esteemed co-host, Mr. Mike Cuball Clark. And this week, we have a very, very special guest, the man who is widely known as having the most beneficent pencil in the industry, our good friend, Mr. Ed Tillrock. Ed, welcome to V8 Radio.
How you doing? Great to be here. This is awesome.
Yeah, well, it just
so
started,
far.
I'd reserve judgment for maybe another 45 minutes. Well, Ed, this show is all about car stuff generally, and for those who tune into this and have more than once, they know that we start each episode with an automotive trivia question. And we ask the question in the beginning of the show, and then we give the answers at the end. And it's our kind of fun way to bait our listeners into hanging out for the whole episode. So, as our esteemed guest, have you prepared a little trivia question for us?
Have I?
Yeah.
Oh boy. No.
Cool. So that tells me that Mr. Ed Tillrock did not read the email.
I read it quickly, and I thought you were going to ask me a question.
Well, we allow everybody to throw one out there. So not to put you on the spot. So what we'll do is you just kind of. You can wait in the wings there. I've got one for Mike. Mike's got one for us. And if by the time we get through our exchange, if you've thought of something that you might think is an interesting question, we'll ask you to throw it out. But
sure. I'm going to go back and read that right now.
All right, Mike. So have you prepared a question?
No. I mean, yes. Yes, I have.
You sound like me.
Okay, here we go. All right, Kevin and Ed. This car, the 1938 Buick Y-Job, is said to be the most famous car in General Motors history. Who designed it?
Who are you asking first?
Yeah.
Ed, since you are our esteemed guest, I'm going to give you the first crack at this one.
Harley Earl.
Well, that was a very quick answer. Are you
Well,
sure that you want that to be your
I don't
final
know.
answer?
I did a rendering, or a pencil drawing of it a couple of years ago.
Of course you did.
Yes,
absolutely.
I did. Everything was 1938, and the Y-Job was in there. I had the Dymaxion house, which is an aluminum and plexiglass house that you can see in the Ford Museum.
That was a Buckminster Fuller design.
Yes, it had the Tesla Death Ray up on the mountain, and a what was the Zeppelin called? The Graf Zeppelin.
The Graf, wow.
All 1938. So
holy mackerel!
I have issues.
Well, those are good issues.
Yeah, really.
I do have a question.
Okay.
Okay. You ready for me?
Hold that thought for a sec, because
okay.
we kind of do a round robin. So Mike asked you,
Okay.
Your answer was the Buick Y-Job was a Harley Earl design. This is another one of those situations, Mike. I'm gonna go with Ed because I do believe that is a Harley Earl design.
All right.
Even though I will say, it seems early for Harley Earl.
Oh, ouch.
Because he
Early
was
for Earl.
Well, yeah, no, that's not where I meant to go with that. But Harley, of course, was very prominent throughout the 50s and kind of tapered off in the early 60s, right? So,
Sure.
38, that would have been a big project for a young designer. I don't think you are, but that's sometimes my mind wanders, and that's kind of what I'm thinking. But I will say it was Harley Earl.
All right, very good. Duly noted, gentlemen.
All right. All right, Mr. Ed, why don't you hit us with your question, and then I'll pose mine.
And I might not have the right answer, so
nobody cares.
Even more interesting.
I rarely do.
Nobody cares.
Why are there two water pumps on a, let's call it a 1932 Ford V8 flathead?
Great question.
That is a great question, and I'm going to defer to Mike.
God dang it,
answer
Kevin.
first.
All right. Why are there two water pumps? I'm going to say that the Ford flathead design did not allow for a water crossover. Therefore, you needed an individual water pump for each bank of cylinders.
Wow, aren't we, Mr. Sound Like
That
Smarty
is
Pants?
a very, very good answer.
Thanks.
Very good.
I let's just hope it's the correct answer.
Well, Mr. Cueball and Mr. Tillrock, I kind of think I agree with Mike because that flathead design, those cylinder heads are kind of self-contained, and when you look at that, 60-degree V, you have intake crossovers for your passages for your intake, your air fuel coming in, but I don't think there is a water crossover. So you got those two returns back to the radiator. So I'm going to agree with Mike on that.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah, right now I haven't had to have an original thought yet on this episode.
Well, that's okay, Kevin, because I haven't had one in the 4 years we've been doing this.
Right on. All right. Well, that's a good one. Okay, so I also have one, and I'll put this one to our esteemed guest first. What was the name of the glamorous GM auto show that was held from 1949 through 1961?
I know it, but my brain is faded. Gosh.
We try to sometimes make our trivia questions kind of fit with our guests, Mike with the design question, and this one has the word glamour in the question, and that's why I thought immediately of that.
Perfect.
Am I glamorous?
You're
Have
painting,
you met
your
me?
drawings sure are.
Okay, thank you. Oh, gosh, I know when I hear the answer, I will hit myself in the head. Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's not one of the requirements of the show, but whatever turns you on.
Okay, doing good so far.
Yeah. Well, if it's you could take a wag, if you will, the wild ass guess.
Yeah, I keep thinking Autorama. I know that's not it. It's something like that.
Something like that could be your answer. Something like
that. Yeah, something like Autorama.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good enough for this show.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Cueball, do you have a
Can you please repeat the question?
Yes. What was the name of the glamorous GM auto show that was held between 1949 through 1961?
61. Okay. The glamorous auto show from 49 to 61.
And by the way, vehicles like the Buick Y Job would have been featured.
That's super helpful. Thank you.
Well, you did that.
Okay. I am. Since I don't have a clue, I'm gonna side with my new friend Ed and say Autorama.
Original thoughts, please.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're just gonna go straight up Autorama, not something like
Nope.
Autorama. All right.
Straight up Autorama.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will find out at the end of the show, ladies and gentlemen.
Indeed.
All right. Well, good talking with you guys.
Yeah, right.
Hit the road, Ed.
I'm out.
He's gonna go have some more dates.
Yeah.
No.
Go have some more breakfast.
So before the show started, we're just kind of chatting and getting our microphones set up. And Ed was mentioning that he's been eating a lot of dates for breakfast or whatnot ever since the Global Auto Salon trip to Saudi Arabia, which exposed us all to all of us who went to some delicacies of the Middle East that we may not have eaten. So, which brings me to to kind of introducing Ed. For those who don't know Mr. Tillrock, Ed is his real nickname is not the what was the word?
Beneficent.
Beneficent pencil. He's known as the Nitro Filled Pencil because
Yeah.
Ed
Right.
is just a tremendous automobile artist when it comes to depicting scenes. But what I've learned, and I'll have you kind of tell the story, is that one of the things about Ed's artwork, and it's not just pencil, it's multimedia, different, painting and everything else, but it's got this level of accuracy that is just so insane. And your background kind of started doing things that relied on accuracy before you made the jump into the automotive world. What was the story?
I did architectural rendering for 40 years.
Holy
And
cow.
wow.
it's when somebody puts up a new building, I would do the artwork of what the building was going to look like. The trees, the sky, and all that stuff.
Oh, right on.
And I've rendered everything from a newspaper stand to the Sears Tower here in Chicago.
Wow.
And Mecca, I did a 10-foot wide rendering of Mecca.
Holy
And,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was crazy. There was 6 of us working on that project, and it was quite an experience. Composition, accuracy, perspective, reading drawings, dealing with developers.
Sure.
And,
Yeah. Right.
architects, they were fun, but yeah, it was an interesting career until 2007.
Yeah. And then things
Yeah.
changed.
And then things changed, and my partner at the time says, "What are you going to do when this all goes away?" And I hadn't thought about it. I'm like, "Crap, I got to figure this out."
I'm gonna have to get a job.
Yeah, you have to get a real job. I was working before that 12, 14 hours days, 7 days a week. In fact, in 2005 or 6, I worked from January 1st all the way till May 1st, every day, 12 hours a day.
Wow.
And,
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it wore me out. So I was ready to move on to something else, and always been a gearhead and loved to draw, and would draw cars and things for my friends. And I'm like, I got to develop this, somehow. And I love pencil, so that was the combination.
Man, so when you were doing the architectural renderings, of course, like you're suggesting, the architect has the prints, and you got to extrapolate that and turn it into a 3D appearing rendering, a photorealistic almost drawing. Did you ever slip like cool cars in the background? Because I know a lot
absolutely.
of times the cars are like little blocks and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to do that. And sometimes they didn't want you to, but with different clients, I knew I could get away with things. But
Yeah.
I used to enjoy, especially when computer design first started, I would catch the architects and I'd say, the roof on this building doesn't really work. And they would say, yeah, we know, make it work, make it look good.
Oh, no kidding.
So I'd have to be creative and make it
So
work.
were you modifying the design or fudging the rendering?
Yes.
Yes. Wow.
Yes.
Well, that could be a little risky, because the thing gets built and then the guy's standing across the street saying, yeah, this doesn't quite, it's like when you order a Big Mac, it doesn't quite look like the picture.
Well, there's that. But many architects would just, it depended on their meetings. If they had to go in front of a board to get permits and things, that's one thing. Or if they had to get financing, that's what they really needed the renderings for. So it was a fascinating and crazy business.
Yeah, I bet. So you were tasked with putting emotion into the drawing, basically,
Right.
and getting people
Exactly.
excited about it. Yeah.
Exactly, and make it look realistic. Make it look like the building grew there.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
So
and
that translated to doing the automotive art, composition and perspective and that.
well, without a doubt, and you have such an amazing ability on several different levels. I mean, there are people who can compose an image that has a sense of energy or a sense of motion or perspective or whatever, and it might be a simple line drawing,
Right.
You have that ability, but then you take it to an entirely different level in your pencil sketch because if somehow you can take a regular pencil, the same one that I used to, fail math tests with, and it looks like a black and white photograph. The detail is so sharp, and there's so much contrast and reflections and everything. It is truly mesmerizing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. When I first started doing this, I love oil painting and doing oil paintings, although I don't have the patience for oil. But I wanted my pencil renderings to look like oil paintings, just in black and white. And I wanted them to have a story. As we were talking about the Y job, everything that was in that drawing I did was from 1938. And composing that with people and things going on is from the architectural background.
Yeah. So when you create these stories, let's talk about that same image once again.
Sure.
Were you commissioned to do that, or was that just an idea you had?
No, in fact, it's pretty funny. Most of the architecture, I hate to keep going back to that, was commission work. It was done for somebody else. I like doing artwork for me, things that float my boat, like the Y job, and like the Dymaxion house, and that. So there are a lot of. I probably have half of the artwork that I've created the last 10, 12 years.
Really?
Yeah, it's in a drawer.
Well, sure. Yeah.
Some of it's on the wall, but. Yeah, I primarily, the way I figure it is, if I like it, hopefully somebody else will like it.
Well, it's a good philosophy, and I think as a media producer myself, that's kind of one of my yardsticks when we put a video out. It's like, is this something that I'd want to watch? Because if I don't want to watch it, nobody's going to want to watch
exactly.
it.
Exactly.
Or I put stuff out that I want to watch and nobody does watch. So that does happen.
Well,
too.
with the architecture, it was very rare that I would get a building that I really would like to draw, or it was magic marker and pastel and all that. It was color, but it was very rare that I get a building that I could sink my teeth into and make something out of it. It was a lot of just crap that I didn't like, but I had to make it look good, So
yeah, how do you make a tilt-up concrete facility be
exactly?
a hard
how many warehouses, the precast concrete warehouses I've done?
Yeah,
a lot.
Huh. Now, when you kind of made that jump, was this something that you sat down and had a business plan and said, here, I'm gonna go to these shows, I'm gonna, or was this like, I'm burned out on the architecture stuff, the market changed because of the economy, I got to do something, maybe I'll just try and sell some of these? I mean, what did you do there? That must have been kind of scary.
Oh, it was very scary, and no, it was total panic. I had partners. We rented an office, and at that point I had a home and all sorts of things. And I was looking for a way of making a living. Some of my friends said, just go get a job at Home Depot. And I'm like, I can't do that. I gotta figure it out. And, that's, I'm still working on figuring it out. Mm-hmm. But that's the challenge every day. It's trying to figure out how to make this work, how to make people like my artwork and get it out there so people can see it. And so, no, I had no plan. I had zero plans. And one of the first drawings I did was, I love Bonneville, and I was there in 2002, need to go back again. Mm-hmm. But it was of a 34 Ford at Bonneville with the sky, the clouds, and all that. Again, similar to the architecture, the way I would approach it. And it grew from there, and just started going to shows, taking pictures of cars, and actually, I don't know if you remember Hub Garage. You remember Hub Garage? Yeah. Chris Jacobs was a spokesman for that at one point. And I had drawn his car, his GTX. And I asked him if he can get me into the Detroit Autorama. And he and Scott Whitaker, who runs Dynamat, he ran Hub Garage.
Hub Garage, yeah.
Got me in. I had a little 6x6x6 triangle of space between Hub Garage and a Mercury a Merc Custom that Scott had there, And he said it was a tilt front end. He says, if every half hour you can open the hood, I'd really appreciate it.
Nice.
I'm like,
Yeah.
sure,
you had a
Scott,
purpose in life. Yeah.
whatever you want. So that was the first show. That was my first experience. And in fact, some of the clients people I met there are still my clients, or customers.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So did you create some prints for that event, or did you had stuff already, or did you draw there? I mean,
I prepared as much as I could. That was in, oh gosh, what would that have been? 08, I think. And the wheels fell off for me at the end of 07. So I just every day would draw a car or something. I did a 39 Buick, 39 Cadillac V16, and trying to figure out what would work, what would sell. And some of the stuff I had didn't sell, and some did, and I would just move on from there.
Man, yeah, trying to read the market is
oh my gosh,
a whole nother talent.
And pay rent, and pay employees, and
Right.
And as that was going away, I eventually moved into my home, and I did that for a few years, and then we ended up losing that and renting. But it turned around with SEMA, with Bob Larrivee Sr. He saw my artwork at in Chicago at the World of Wheels.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, I'm going to get you into SEMA. I'm like, oh, okay. And he did, and it's kind of been great since then.
And he did more than just get you into SEMA.
Right. He got me into a gallery. There was I'm not going to get this right, Hot Rod something gallery.
Yeah. Well, at SEMA they do have an area of artists that are on display, and I guess you were initially part of that
right
display. Yeah.
Right. And then that kind of fell apart, but Peter McGillivray and a few others asked me to be one of a handful of artists to display our work there, and then I was the SEMA artist for a couple of years, which was fantastic, just awesome.
And that was the amazing thing, because I think I may have seen your art at one of the Chicago events before SEMA, and then all of a sudden it was like boom, and here's your stuff everywhere at SEMA, and when you're the featured artist, I mean that's no light task. I mean, you had to create, and you'll be able to tell us, but just all these images that were then blown up and put on display at the entryways, down the hallways, at special exhibits. I mean, so for your first SEMA, do you remember how many different pieces you created for that?
Well, the first time I got asked to do something. Well, actually, the second time, Peter asked me to do the 50th anniversary artwork for SEMA. And that wall was 140 feet long by 8 feet high.
Holy cats.
Yeah. Now, I had to figure out how to do it, so I did it as a scroll. It was 14 inches tall and then 12 feet long.
Wow.
And so I would work on it right in front of me and roll up and unroll fresh paper. I had 4 days to create that piece of artwork that covered the 50 years of SEMA.
Whoa.
4 days.
4 days.
No pressure.
Yeah.
No pressure at all.
No. They were feeding me the decades, and I was composing the artwork as we go. I told my wife, I says, I'll be in that room over there.
That is incredible.
Yeah, and it's one of my proudest pieces, and it was a lot of work, but it turned out really great. I was really happy with it.
Oh, it's a tremendous piece, because there is obviously so much history in it that's depicted, and because it is a Tillrock creation, it's instantly identifiable, the people and the cars and everything that are in it, because it, if they asked me to draw that, it would look like one of those bad.
I've seen you draw. You're not bad.
It'd look like one of those bad tattoo memes, where it's like
no regrets.
Right.
Oh yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
But then they asked me to be the artist, and so every hall had a piece of my artwork blown up to be a billboard. I mean, I walked in there that year and it's like with my son Ian, and I'm like, oh my God, this stuff is huge.
Yeah.
It was pretty crazy. Even the little magazine newspaper stands they had my artwork on it.
It was
The,
everywhere.
yeah, it was terrific. I loved it. I hate to say that, but
Yeah.
I did.
No, I mean, it was
Well, you
tremendous.
should.
And totally.
Yeah.
And to me, what blows my mind is that there are, I'm going to use the term professional. You know, a true professional can do whatever they do, like right now or tomorrow morning or whenever you ask. And there are others that are, maybe they're professionals also, but they have to do things on their own terms. And you're the kind of guy who obviously somebody can ask something of you and you can just go, boom, here, 4 days, 50 years, 120 feet long. Sure. Bam. And get it done. So to me, that's a special internal communication between your headspace and your drawing hands to be able to make that happen. And that's not something that a lot of artists have. And I don't know how, you were saying you were kind of getting burned out on drawing buildings, but you still love to draw. You just changed the subject and the hardware still worked and you were able to make it happen. I mean, that's pretty incredible, man.
Well, I am passionate about what I do. I'm a total gearhead. I'll go to a car show, do a show for 3 or 4 days, drive home, get home at 2 a.m, and I'll put a car show on TV. Or I'll look at a magazine. I'm just, my wife looks at me and says, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like,
So does mine.
and I said, "I don't know," but it's what I am, And
Yeah.
I've always been like that. I'd be sitting there in school, and a teacher would be talking, and I'd be drawing cars. Dream cars back when I was in grade school, and '69 Camaros when I was in high school when they were brand new.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried. My introduction to a lot of that stuff was Cartoons Magazine, and
sure.
I would follow George Trosley's How to Draw Things to a T. And in fact, if I sketch a tire today, you can look at it and go, "Yep, that's George. That's what he does." Because that's who trained me. I didn't have any formal training, and I'm not like I'm some artist, but that's kind of where I learned to do it. But at the same time. Again, it was just something that got me through biology class and got me through math class, was doing all those sketches and stuff. And to me, I'm one of those people who would envision something in my mind, and then what came out on paper never matched. So I became very frustrated, and then it was a turnoff. So when you start something like that image from 1938 with the Demaxian house and the Y job, do you have like a blueprint in your mind, or do you just kind of let it come out?
Yes and no. It's a blueprint, but it's constantly changing because to get the composition I want, I move things around. But for some reason, 1938 stuck out in my mind, and so I started looking for things that were from that era, and it's all things I like. I don't know so much about the Tesla death ray, which is hard to say.
Yeah, right.
But
I like that. Right?
You talk about out there. That guy was out there, man. I'll tell you. But I try to tell a story, and through the composition, I want your eye to stay in the picture and not run off to one side or the other. And that's part of my training, I guess, for the architecture is to Disney did that. They would darken the edges. I'm doing this with my hands. I don't know if you can see that. He would have trees coming from the left and the right, cropping the artwork, so you focus on the bright stuff in the middle. Yep. So I always use that composition to form my artwork.
Interesting.
And also trying to tell a story. I have a picture of a couple of Mercs. One's a 39 and one's a 40, both customs. One's a convertible and one's a chopped. And there's a girl sitting in the convertible off to the side looking upset, smoking a cigarette. And then the two guys are talking to each other, and it's called date night. And in the background is an ice cream shop, you know, and it's how many car guys have been there where you're with your buddies and you're and the girls are like, can we go?
Yep, exactly.
So
that's great.
But that's the story, you know. And I've had women look at that and they'll come up to me and go, been there.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I'm not buying that because I've been there. Yeah, in my case, it's my wife that's doing the talking about the cars, and I'm over there by the ice cream stand going, come on. No, that's really cool. And I think that's another thing that might be lost on some people, that an image is so much more than just an image, and you can appreciate the color and things that kind of catch your eye. But if you can get that story, and especially if the story is I don't want to use the term obvious, but present enough to where you look at it and you go, oh yeah, you know, right away.
Right.
That's awesome. I get that, you know. So, you know, being a car guy, and you know, you obviously told us you've been drawing cars your whole life. What about hands-on? Were you a builder?
Yeah.
Were you know?
Well, a home builder, you know.
Yeah.
I had a 70 Nova that I drove for 11 years with a small block in it, and black vinyl roof, black interior, and it was horrible in the summer. It was very hot. But and I had Trans Am that I've painted and stuff like that. I have a 36 Chevy Coupe in the garage that I need to get out, and it's got a big block in it that my sons helped me. They're both gearheads, and they helped me put it together for the Hot Rod Power Tour in '05. And we got it done the day before. I burnt up an alternator on the test run, and found out it was all my grinding in the garage. But we drove it for the whole 1,200 miles. I had to replace the starter for the same reason. Wow. But the car was a lot of fun, and it's been in the garage for a while. I need to get it out this year. So
those are all too familiar Power Tour stories, by the way.
Yeah.
Got it done the night before, stuff wasn't sorted out, and it broke on the road. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's part of that whole deal, though.
It's just not fun otherwise.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
My best friend has a 68 Camaro, and with a big block, and his coil died on the trip, and we replaced that, and then my car wouldn't start. But his car would overheat going through Nashville. There was an accident, so traffic was stopped on the highway. And every time we'd stop and he'd shut it off, we'd have to push start it because the starter would get out.
Oh, no.
And I told him at the end, I says, I'm done pushing your car. Better not stop. So, yeah, I'm full on gearhead.
And so this past year at the PRI show, I bumped into you and saw your display and met your son, and the legacy continues because he's a car guy and so is his son, right?
Right. Yes. Yeah. My I have two sons, Ed and Ian. Ed the third, and Ed the third has Ed the fourth, who just turned 16, and they are building a 29 Model A two-door. With a 4-cylinder in it, but it's going to be hot rodded, kind of 40 style, dropped in the back or in the front, and but still feel original. And he's 16; he's all excited about it. So I wish I could be over there helping him, but you know, with what's going on, I can't go over there, unfortunately. But I cheer him on.
Yeah, right. Well, that's really cool to see a guy his age into that era of cars.
Exactly. In fact, I had a 65 Chevelle that I met my wife in 1971, and he owns my 65 Chevelle. It's all apart, but it's another project for him.
How cool is that?
And
That's super cool.
We've bought a few things for it so he can get it back on the road. So I'm hoping the next couple of years he gets that going too. But I think they'll have the Model A going before winter, at least running. So,
right on. And what's the combo in the Chevelle?
Nothing. I have a 4-speed for it, but there's no engine. My son wanted to put an LS in it or a big block. I said, no, let him start out with a small block. You know, he can change it however he wants. We'll get the body work done, get it painted. and we'd start out with just a little 283 or something small, and then he can do whatever he wants as he gets older.
That's cool.
And then Ian, my younger son, he's in his mid-30s. He's a Mercedes mechanic, and he has several AMGs, and he's building a 2015 Z06 Corvette, and he just mushroomed a couple of valves in it. So he's taking that apart again. But it had 1,000 horsepower, so
nice.
Yeah. And then go ahead.
Is he a dealer mechanic, or is he working at an independent shop?
He's a dealer mechanic, yeah. He's been a dealer mechanic for, I think, 10, 12 years, so maybe a little more. But Ed the third built a 30 Dodge Sport Coupe into a hot rod. He's got a Buick nailhead in it. And
I've seen that one. That's
that
cool.
was at SEMA, yeah. That was at SEMA a couple of years ago. So
yeah.
So it's all good.
Well, it reminds me of a quote my grandfather used to say. He used to say diarrhea was hereditary because it runs in your genes.
Hey-o.
It sounds like hot rods are hereditary in your family, which is really awesome. That's cool.
Well, and my wife said she wouldn't have dated me if I wasn't into cars. So
that's cool.
She had a purple Volkswagen, 65 Volkswagen, and she cut out pink contact paper in the letters Goofy Grape, and that was on the trunk lid or engine cover.
Cool.
Had some Chevy wheels on it, and so yeah.
That's great.
So it's in the family.
Right on.
So it is great that she digs this stuff too, because it's hard to pursue a passion career with somebody who doesn't get it or support it.
Now, there are days where she'll say, no car talk.
Oh, yeah.
And
I get that, too.
Yeah.
There are days when I say that.
Yeah.
One of the things that you've been doing, in addition to having been the SEMA featured artist and whatnot, but you've been doing the portraits for the SEMA Hall of Fame inductees for a while.
That's a highlight for me, because I love all those guys, Alex Exidius and all the people that Jack Chisenhall is one of the inductees from air conditioning and
Vintage Air,
Vintage Air, thank you. And it's such an honor to draw these guys, and some of them I know, some of them I don't know, but they at SEMA last year they had me sitting at one of the tables that all the SEMA Hall of Fame guys were sitting at, and it's such an honor and so cool to be a part of that, and I absolutely love doing that.
Yeah, and I guess so. That was at the banquet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there for part of that.
You look familiar.
Yeah. What was so cool about that whole thing is, when you do those portraits, and again, giving people some insight on your talent level, I think there are many who can do realistic figures and humans and faces and portraits, but they don't, maybe have the accuracy to do technical drawings of machines and cars and everything. But everything you do is just, it's so spot on. And a question I had was, having seen some of those SEMA Hall of Fame portraits, many of those are not like current day photos, right? It seems like some of them are from previous times in history. What's that whole strategy?
I don't know. They pick a bunch of photos and they send them to me, and then we talk about it. And it's I don't know. It's some of the people have been with SEMA for a long time, and so it's different photos from when they were giving a speech, maybe, or something at SEMA, a specific time.
Maybe a significant moment. Or,
exactly.
Yeah. Or a good picture's a good picture,
Well, there's that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them are really, it just flows. It's natural, it's easy, and I'm drawing, and it looks like the person. and some of them it's a dogfight. It's just one of those things, And this year there are going to be 4 inductees. Usually there's 3, and they went really well. I was very, very happy with them, and hopefully they are too. So
yeah, well,
I'm sure they will be.
Right, I can't see them not.
Yeah.
So that brings up a question of kind of the process. Again, being a guy who would try to do this stuff and get frustrated and throw all of his pencils across the room and
that's me.
tear the paper up.
That's me.
Right. I mean, I've seen you do things live at the Muscle Car and Corvette Nationals, for example.
Right.
You've got a display and you're there sketching away, and it seems like everything is just cruising right along, But I'm imagining that's not how it always is.
No, it's not. In fact, I've been doing a lot of painting lately, and in fact, I finished a painting of the 1934 dragster, the 554 blue 34 Ford.
Yes,
and,
you shared that on Facebook, some of that.
Yes, and it was a struggle up until I put my name on it.
Really?
It just fought me every ounce of the way. Yeah. And again, sometimes paintings or drawings, they go smooth and, it just bam. This one, until I retoned the side of the car, I didn't like it and was going to paint it over.
Oh, boy.
So, yeah, which was pretty far along, probably 90% was done.
Man.
So, yeah, but I like that. It's challenging. It's frustrating because I can't figure it out. And I need that challenge. So, not exactly thrilled all the time with it, but I do need that challenge.
Right. So when things are fighting you, as you say, is it the technical side of this brush, just blobbed paint down the side, or do you have, you've been doing this a long time, do you have a mastery of the mechanics, and it's just the composition, the color, the actual image is what you don't dig?
Yes.
If something doesn't go right. Well, it's both.
I will take the piece of art, whatever I'm working on, and put it in front of the TV when I'm sitting with my wife in the evening, or even like now I'm looking at it, and I with a critical eye, and my wife said to me a couple of years ago, she goes, "Quit admiring your work," and I go, "You have no idea what I'm thinking of doing to this. I want to cut, erase, change." And she goes, "Go ahead, go do it," because but I have to look at it to get the composition right, to get everything to flow, to get the colors right. I can't really put a finger on it, but there's a certain time where I know it's right and I'm done. I usually don't go back and rework things. Occasionally I do, but it's very rare. I know when to stop, I guess. This is what I'm saying.
Well, when it looks right, then it probably is, and that's the time to stop.
Yeah.
I think looking at a lot of this stuff, especially, I'm noticing myself that as people, especially in America, we're exposed to art class in grade school and in junior high, maybe in high school, and then that acceptance kind of goes away. It's like kids are supposed to draw and paint and be creative, but then later in life, most people aren't really doing this kind of stuff. And I know maybe some of it is because there's not time and it's not productive, and you got to raise a family and all the rest of it.
Right.
But I think a lot of it is, and I know for me, there's a fear factor there. It's like if I'm going to try to do something and create something, my fear is that it's going to suck, or I'm going to do it wrong, or I'm going to waste time, or other people are going to look at it and say it's garbage. And for you to be able to, obviously you've got a highly advanced skill set, but as you're reworking these things, is there still a fear factor of, is this going to go well? Or
Constantly. Up and there's a certain point where I go, okay. But that could be near the beginning of the process, or like with this last one I did, near the end. I just, usually when I start, I'm very nervous about it. Am I going to be able to do this? And then I'll I'll find a comfortable spot. And sometimes when I hit that point where I'm not comfortable with what I'm doing, I did a drawing of a flathead engine, and it was so detailed. And I did the air cleaners, the little bell like air cleaners on top, and I did them so good I had to finish the drawing.
And the rest of it had to look that nice too.
Exactly. So I had to step up and create this thing that made me say, okay, I got to finish it now. I got to rise to that level. I got to make it look good. It's called the Tiki Starfighter, and if you ever see it, you'll understand why there's a couple of Tiki guys in there. But
too cool.
But so yeah, even with painting and that, I'll find something like a wheel or something, and I'll make it so I'll be so happy with that, then I have to bring the rest of the artwork up to that level.
Yeah, that's pretty fascinating.
I don't know if other artists do it that way, but I do.
Well, I think many do, and obviously some don't. Nobody's the same, and it's not like there's a rule book or anything. But you can tell the people that were masters pay attention to all those details. Musicians and bands, they make sure that every musician is of the highest caliber, all the way down to the recording process and the sound quality of the album artwork. You make all that stuff the same high level, you'll have a win, as opposed to, boy, that drummer was awesome, but the rest of the band is horrible.
The other thing with drawing is, if you're not happy with it, figure out why and either start over or correct it. So that's something I've always tried to work on, figure out why I'm not happy with it. And,
interesting.
And like tools, blending tools and all that stuff, I make my own. I just I like the challenge of making things.
Yeah.
And, I like to make my own stuff.
No, I mean, that's cool because you know what you need. You know what you needed to do.
Right.
So that gives you the opportunity to make that happen, and you're technical enough to be able to do that. So that's really cool. Yeah. And of course, today you can get an actual branded Ed Tillrock pencil.
Can you?
You can, yeah. I have a friend, a client, who gave me 1,000 pencils with my name on it, and I had ordered some years and years ago, but they went pretty fast. And he's such a good friend. He had socks that look like a pencil, and he
nice.
Came up to me at SEMA a couple of years ago and says, "Here," and so the toe is the point of the pencil, and the top of the socks is the eraser. That was pretty cool.
Nice.
He's a good guy.
So, how about Ed Tillrock, the consumer of art? What kind of stuff do you like to look at from other people that really catches your eye?
There's a handful of artists I really love, Tom Fritz and Steve Stanford, and that they were inspiration for me, and they're friends now, which is phenomenal. And but I've been looking at abstract art and trying to, I've done a lot of realistic things, and I want to progress and do some abstract contemporary type art, and yeah, and I'd also like to do graffiti. There's some graffiti artists out there that are just phenomenal, just absolutely phenomenal. So I like it all. It's kind of like cars. I like it all, from Formula One to drag racing to whatever. Mm-hmm. And art's the same way for me. A funny thing, like Picasso, when he was younger, he did realistic portraits when he was a teenager. They were phenomenal, just beautiful. And as he got older, it was less and less and less, and more abstract and contemporary. And his stuff was awesome too. So.
Well, maybe he started to kind of find his marketable niche too.
It could be. Yeah.
Who knows? I don't know the story very well.
Yeah.
But I do have a funny Ed Tillrock story, this happened at SEMA a couple years ago. This is a great one, and I'll tell you the truth. It was a little awkward at the time because we didn't know each other very well, and I was treading lightly. But I don't know if I told you this story, Mike. But we're sitting at the SEMA banquet, and I was in the audience with Kelly, sitting at a table as an invited guest that year. And during the banquet, they do some tribute videos honoring different members of SEMA and different people in the industry that are notable. And one of the little vignettes had our friend Steve Stanford being featured. And Steve is a brilliant artist. He's, in my mind, he's one of the pioneers of the automotive rendering, the custom rendering. And I've been looking at his stuff in Hot Rod Magazine forever, and I had the chance to meet him and interview him back in the mid-'90s for Hot Rod TV. We went to his little trailer on Pete Santini's lot and interviewed him and saw his process. And he had a lot of really great things to say about being a creative artist. And I asked him, what medium he used and what tools he used, and was he a pencil guy or a colored pencil guy or a watercolor, and he said, man, I don't really care what it is. If it looks right, it's right. He goes, look over there, that's liquid paper, and I drew white lines with it, and ballpoint pen, and it was like, really, and that really was kind of liberating to me, because as long as it truly is, to use the old quaint saying, it's the artist, not the paintbrush. And if you do something with it, it doesn't matter really how you got there. And that was kind of validating for me to hear a guy who's that good say that kind of statement. So anyway, they're honoring Stanford in this little video, and I'm sitting at this table, and I look behind me, and Steve is at the next table, and I went, huh, and behind me over my other shoulder is Ed Tillrock sitting at another table, and I went, oh, there's Ed, and one of my goals, and I've not been able to do this, fully yet, but there's all these artists that I really admire that I would love to have pieces from. I'd love to have them do some work of, a car or an image or something that I want, because I want to help them out. I want to buy their stuff and support them and whatnot. And it dawned on me that Stanford is also a Buick guy. He likes Rivieras.
Right on.
So I kind of got the balls up to slide over to Steve after his video played, and everybody's in tears in the whole place, And I said, Steve, and he's like, hey, man, what's going on? I said, look, I know now's not the time and place, but I've got a 70 Buick Riviera that I would love to have you do an image of, and I'm not saying, redesign the car, whatever. I would just, that would be really cool. And he's like, yeah, okay, well, I would love to do that. He said, let's talk about it, in a couple weeks. You got something to write your number down? And I said, no, but I turned and I looked over and I saw Tillrock, and he's the Nitro Filled Pencil. So I kind of crawl over to Ed and I go, Ed, this is a crazy request, but do you have a pencil? And he's like, yeah, why? I'm like, well, I got to give Stanford my number. And I was a little uneasy, because I'm thinking Ed's like, well, why aren't I getting your number?
Yeah.
It's all cool.
The crazy thing is Ed he opens this book up and he's got a pencil. He pulls this little short one out that's pretty well used, and he hands it to me. He says, here you go, right? So I go over to Stanford and I write my phone number down on his dinner place card, a little tent card, and I look at the pencil, and the pencil brand is Riviera.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It was meant to be.
It was meant to be. And I still have the pencil.
Yep.
Nice.
And
He
I've talked to
stole it
Steve.
from me.
You gave that to me. And I've talked to Steve about doing this. With the universe hasn't clicked yet enough to where we can move forward on this project, but I'm hoping to make that happen. But that was a really, really special moment to have, Steve, who I've admired and appreciate, and Ed, who I admire and appreciate, and everything just kind of weirdly snapped together at this great event that I am so happy to be at, and everything else. So it was pretty cool.
Riviera pencil.
I know. Yeah, you top
Riviera.
it all off. That's
crazy.
Right. I'll do a show like in Detroit, the Autorama or whatever, and people will come up to me with a handful of pencils, and they say, "Oh, I saw these at a antique shop or whatever, yard sale, and I thought of you," and so they hand me a whole pile of pencils.
Oh my gosh!
That's where that Riviera one came from. In fact, one of the artists in Detroit that I see is Canadian. Uncle Ian. He makes the little flying eyeball pins. And he came up to me this year and handed me a dozen Canadian pencils. He says, I thought you should try something from the north.
Nice. It's a Dixon Ticonderoga, eh?
Molson.
Yeah. It's Canadian for lead.
Right.
That's great. Too cool.
Yeah, that was fun. I enjoyed the SEMA thing. That was pretty cool. And Steve's such a great guy, such a humble guy. And such a great artist.
Yeah, totally. Well, this has been great, Ed. I appreciate you taking the time to join us and share some of these stories. And I know a lot of times, people get to see the artwork, but it's nice to kind of hear the motivation and the history behind it. And right now, I'm feeling the collective burning eyeballs of everybody looking at us, saying, "I want the answer to your dumb trivia questions, guys." So we're going to reveal some of these answers, and because Mike, you went first, right?
Correct.
Why don't you reveal yours?
Absolutely. Okay, boys. I asked you about who designed the Buick Y job, and Ed, you guessed Harley Earl. And Kevin followed suit and also guessed Harley Earl. And congratulations, fellas. That's absolutely correct.
Woo-hoo.
All right.
Yay.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
He actually drove that car for 3 or 4 years.
Did he really?
In the winter.
In the winter?
In Detroit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it was freaking Harley Earl. That's what you do.
I guess
That's right.
you get to.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it had like 13 or 14-inch wheels. I think it were 13-inch wheels, but really tall tires.
Huh.
So it's just bizarre. Anyway, okay.
It was bizarre, but it was cool.
So who's next? Me?
I guess you went second, so yeah.
The reason why there are 2 water pumps is Henry Ford is cheap. And he said, no, use 2 of the 4-cylinder water pumps.
No kidding.
No
and
kidding.
you can put, with some machining, a 409 Chevy water pump on a flathead.
It'll span across.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
So Henry said, in typical Henry Ford fashion, we have 1 billion of these in our parts.
Right.
You're just going to put 2 of them on. And it's kind of surprising, though, because it's double the parts, but it's not the
But there's no
R&D.
development cost.
Right. Done. Ding dong done.
Look at that. So Mike and I were both wrong on that.
Yeah. Gosh, I thought I
Wrong
was
together.
onto something there.
By the way, Ed was
Amazing
fine.
answer I'm pulling out
So
of
did
thin air.
Kevin.
Yeah, Ed was pretty good at making you believe that.
Yeah, right.
That must be frustrating.
Man, he made me feel great about myself. Thank
How do
you,
feel
Ed.
now?
I've never been so happy to be wrong.
Oh, man. All right,
Somebody
well,
will
my
prove me
question...
wrong, I'm sure.
Yeah, well. My question was, what was the name of the glamorous GM Auto Show that was put on between 49 and 61? And Ed said something like Autorama. Mike said Autorama.
Motorama.
It's Motorama, which...
See, I was close.
But your answer was correct because it's like Autorama. It's Motorama. So you are correct, my friend.
Nicely done.
Wow, do I get like a washing machine or something?
Tell him what he's won, Johnny.
That's right. Yeah, you get a washing machine. Just keep your eye on your mailbox and it'll be in there next week.
Doing it now.
Yeah, right on. Oh, boy. Well, this was a lot of fun, man. I appreciate you taking the time. And for everybody who's interested, Ed, tell them where they can find your artwork to purchase their own.
Oh, edtillrock.com. Let's see. I'm on Instagram and Facebook as me. So just Ed Tillrock Art, I think on Instagram, and Ed Tillrock Pencil Specialist on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. So. And you've been posting videos and stuff and a lot of cool things to show people kind of how it's done. You were telling me once that there was a time when people just didn't believe that this was you actually creating this stuff.
Right. Steve Koonin of Router's Journal, they did an article on me a couple of years ago, a nice little story, which was awesome. And he says, "No, you use Photoshop in that, don't you?" I said, No, it's all hand-drawn. Mm-hmm. So I showed him, I take pictures in between while I'm working on the artwork, and I send it to him, and he put it in the back of the Router's Journal.
That's cool. Proof.
It was pretty cool. Just proof. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Well, we here in our house, we have one of your prints hanging on the wall. It's the one called Push, where it's all the guys around the coupe on the what I'm guessing is the dry lake or the salt, and these guys are getting ready to push start this attempted land speed record, and that image really resonated with Kelly and I, because in our V8 Speed and Resto shop, our team is oftentimes found pushing a vehicle to get things going, but that's always a sign of teamwork. It's a sign of working hard to make something really awesome happen, and I think that's what that image depicts. Which is really cool.
I enjoyed doing that.
Yeah, that's a good one. And we got another one as a gift for some good neighbors of ours. One of your motorcycle theme pieces that they're Harley people, and nobody can believe it. They all think it's some kind of digital print. And it's like, no, that was hand done, man. It's a copy, but it's a hand done. So we thank you for all that. And again, thanks for joining us, and to everybody out there in V8 Radio Land, we appreciate you tuning in and burning up another perfectly good hour with us.
Nice talking to you guys, Michael. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you for coming on the show. It was amazing.
Oh, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, us too. And if anybody would like to be alerted when the latest episode of V8 Radio comes out, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, of course Google Podcasts, and all kinds of stuff. But Mike and I are trying to do a little push again towards Apple stuff, because that seems to be kind of the predominant platform of where people can listen. And as we said last time, I recently learned that if a bunch of people subscribe all at once, it pushes us up in the ratings, and eventually we will catch Car Talk, which has been in reruns for 4 years. So for Mike Cueball Clark and Mr. Nitro Filled Pencil, Mr. Ed Tillrock, I'm Kevin Ostie, thanking you for listening to yet another episode of V8 Radio, and to keep the shiny side up, and we'll talk to you next time.